My name's Emily. I'm a 52-year-old office worker and live with my husband Tom and my mother-in-law in her family home. 2 years ago, my daughter Catherine started living on her own after getting a job, and I felt relieved, thinking that I was finally done with parenting. My husband, who adores our daughter, was initially against her living on her own when she got the job, but she couldn't commute from our home, so he reluctantly agreed. The mother-in-law I live with is a kind person who doesn't torment her daughter-in-law, but recently her legs have been weakening, and she started walking more slowly. I thought she wasn't yet in need of care, but perhaps not wanting to be a burden on us, she mentioned maybe I should start looking for a nursing home soon. She was looking at flyers for care facilities. I told my considerate mother-in-law, I'll take care of you, so please stay here with us. However, she seemed conflicted and said, I feel bad for causing you trouble. I'm thinking of selling this house and using the money to move into a facility, but that might also be inconvenient for you. What should I do? She looked troubled. Since this house belongs to my mother-in-law, I felt we should respect her decision. You don't have to worry about us. Even if you decide to sell this house, we can find a place to live on our own. We'll be fine, I said with a smile. Certainly, a care facility might offer better amenities and perhaps be a more reassuring place for my mother-in-law. The family home is old, showing signs of wear and tear. It felt like every year some part of it needed repairs, and it seemed close to reaching its limit. When I consulted with Tom, he said, I'm fine with whatever. Mom can sell this place and move to a care facility if she wants, or she can stay here and you can take care of her. I started to get angry at Tom, who spoke about the future of his own parent as if it were someone else's problem. If we sold the family home, we'd have to find a new place to live, but it seemed like Tom wasn't even considering that. If we sell this place, where are we supposed to go? When I strongly addressed Tom, who was constantly looking at his smartphone and not taking things seriously, he snapped back. Just do what you want. Anyway, you earn more than me, so just move wherever you like. True to his words, my salary is better than Tom's. Ever since our daughter Catherine got a job and we stopped paying for her tuition, Tom hardly contributes to the household expenses and started spending his money as he pleases. Recently, he's been coming home late and often goes out alone on weekends, so I've started to become suspicious of his actions. Tom's father passed away in a traffic accident when Tom was in middle school. Since then, my mother-in-law raised them by herself, so I have deep respect for her due to the hardships she's faced. Because of that, Tom would always do whatever she said, but he never seemed particularly concerned about her future. After we got married, he left everything to me and lacked initiative in almost everything. My mother-in-law, seeing how unreliable Tom was, started discussing everything with me instead. If my mother-in-law were to move to a care facility, we'd also need to find a place for ourselves. So I started looking for suitable properties whenever I had the chance. Whenever I consult Tom, as always, he simply says, "It's up to you," and nothing more. In hindsight, Tom probably had other things on his mind. It seems my mother-in-law began to notice his odd behavior too. "Tom, you're not having an affair, are you?" She confronted him when they were alone, thinking I was not around. "What? Why would you suddenly say that? I'm not cheating on anyone. Don't say weird things." Though he denied it in a flustered manner, his panic made him appear even more suspicious. I didn't have any definitive proof of Tom's infidelity, and the fear of finding out kept me from investigating. Time just kept passing, and with the issue of our impending move, the suspicions about Tom's affair got pushed to the side. A part of me thought that if he really was cheating, then I could just live by myself in our new place. Amidst all this, I received a call from our daughter, revealing that she needed a re-examination after a health checkup. My daughter looked extremely anxious, so I said, "It's okay. After the re-examination, they'll probably find that it's nothing serious." I tried to comfort her, but deep down, I was genuinely worried. Knowing how much Tom dotes on our daughter, I decided to keep this information from him to prevent him from panicking or doing something rash. I didn't want to worry my mother-in-law either, so I asked my daughter to keep this a secret from everyone else. As my concerns shifted towards my daughter's health, my worries about Tom's suspected affair began to fade, and I stopped dwelling on it. About a month later, we received the results of my daughter's re-examination. It wasn't life-threatening, but she would need surgery. It was a relief to know she could continue working and would only need about 2 months of medical leave, but she still seemed quite anxious. "I'm really scared of undergoing surgery. During hospitalization, I can't even wear makeup, and because of the medication, my complexion might worsen. I don't want anyone visiting me, so I haven't told my friends or boyfriend." Learning about her boyfriend for the first time, I teased, "So you have a boyfriend now. You'll need to get better soon for him." She blushed, but quickly became serious and said, "Please keep this a secret from Dad. He always overreacts. I'll explain to him after I'm discharged." Indeed, Tom tends to lose perspective when it comes to our daughter. Just hearing about her hospitalization or surgery might cause him to create a fuss. I thought that if Tom heard about the surgery, he might stop his alleged affair. But for our daughter's sake, I decided not to mention anything unnecessary. Her surgery was still a while away, so I continued with my usual routine. However, I had to go on a business trip after a long time. Even though I was traveling with my mother-in-law still healthy, I believed everything at home would be okay. But I couldn't help but worry about Tom's actions. I couldn't help but think that Tom, with his infidelity suspicions, would gleefully rush to his lover once he knew I was away on a business trip. Even though I'm not sure if he's actually cheating, the very thought of him being with another person infuriated me. When I informed him about my trip, he responded casually, "That's unusual. Be careful out there." Yet I couldn't shake the feeling he was secretly celebrating. Mother-in-law laughed as she assured me, "Everything will be fine at home, so go without any worries." Given the chance, I decided to inquire about the assisted living facility. "Mother, how is the discussion about the assisted living facility going?" To my question, she replied, "I'm thinking of choosing the one we recently visited." "Is the money I asked for ready?" I had been assisting my mother-in-law by transferring money from another account to the one she usually uses. It seems she decided not to sell the family home and instead use her savings to move into a care facility, and I helped her with that. She didn't carry a lot of cash around, but she said she was nervous about moving such a large sum, so she asked me to go to the bank for her. I had a power of attorney from her, so I was able to transfer her money without any issues. I was surprised to learn how substantial her assets were. When my father-in-law passed away in a traffic accident, in addition to the life insurance, she apparently received compensation from the other party, and it seemed she intended to use that money. Having overheard our conversation, my husband looked puzzled. My mother-in-law then told him, "Since you don't help out at all, I've been asking Emily for assistance. She has greatly helped me, especially with financial matters." She spoke in an angry tone. My husband, seemingly offended by the criticism, sulked and quickly left the room. escaping our presence. It seemed like my mother-in-law hadn't explained much to him about the care facility, so all he knew was what he had heard from me. Now that my mother-in-law's care facility was decided upon, the only concern I had was my daughter's upcoming surgery. But since her hospitalization was still a ways off, I went on my business trip without much worry. When I returned from the 3-day, 2-night trip, I noticed my husband acting jittery for some reason. "Is something wrong? You seem restless," he confessed, with a resigned look on his face. "I took the money from your passbook." In a panic, I checked a drawer where I kept my passbook and card, only to find the card missing. Staring at Tom, I exclaimed, "What? That savings even had the bonus I just received. You were going to use that money for Mom's care facility anyway, right? I know the PIN of the card. I gave it all to her," he replied with a smirk, as if trying to justify his actions. Unable to comprehend his words, "gave it all to her," I was at a loss for words when my mother-in-law, hearing the commotion, appeared. Seeing his mother, Tom looked panicked. But when she asked, "Did you do something with the money for my care facility?" he responded, "I've used the money intended for your care, so you'll have to enter the facility with the proceeds from selling this house." My mother-in-law looked just as shocked and confused by his statement. For me, the word "her" bothered me more. "Who is she? You've been cheating, haven't you?" I yelled, and in front of his mother, Tom looked even more troubled. "She's not someone I'm cheating with. She's a woman I'm dating, but we haven't talked about marriage yet." Seeing my husband hesitate, I shouted at him, "While you are married to me, you're dating another woman and you don't consider that cheating? Plus, you said you gave her all of my savings and bonus. Using my money without my permission is stealing. I'm not a thief. The money in that passbook was supposed to be for my mother's care facility fees, so it's my mother's money, right? There's no stealing between family members," he shouted back, clearly aggravated. I couldn't understand why he assumed the money in the passbook was for paying his mother's care facility. Although my husband was getting heated, my mother-in-law calmly intervened. "Tom, are you misunderstanding something? I paid for my care facility with my own money, so Emily's savings have nothing to do with it. But more importantly, were you really cheating on her?" Ignoring the question about cheating, he continued to talk about the money. "Didn't I talk to Emily about the money recently? I thought Emily was the one paying for my mother's care facility. Was I wrong?" He didn't have the same bravado as when he previously said, "I gave it all to her." Now he was seeking confirmation from his mother in a flustered manner. "Like I said, I paid for the care facility with my own money, so Emily's bank book has nothing to do with it." Realizing the truth, he laughed nervously and said, "It was just my misunderstanding. Either way, I've already given away the money. Just let it go." "Let it go? Do you even know what that money was meant for?" "I was planning to use it for Catherine's surgery and living expenses during her hospitalization." Gazing at Emily, all he could mutter was, "What?" Neither Tom nor the mother-in-law knew about Catherine's surgery, so both were in shock. The mother-in-law rushed towards Emily in concern. "What's wrong with Catherine? Why didn't you tell me?" Trying to calm the agitated mother-in-law, I slowly explained Catherine's surgery situation. When she heard it wasn't a life-threatening condition, she seemed relieved and sank to the floor. Tom, too, appeared relieved. Seeing Tom's reaction, anger welled up inside me. "After stealing money meant for our daughter, you dare to look relieved? I planned to give that money to Catherine, knowing she just started working and might need it. Aren't you ashamed to give it to your mistress as her father?" I shouted at him. Seemingly angered as well, my mother-in-law said, "You really are a pathetic man, handing over your daughter's surgery money to your mistress? I can't even think of you as my son anymore. If that bank book was so important, you should have kept it safe. If it's just lying around, anyone would think it's okay to use." Hearing Tom's poor excuse, the mother-in-law became even angrier. "Instead of making such excuses, apologize to Emily now. Not just for taking the bank book, but also for your affair." Chided by the mother-in-law, Tom turned pale, looked at me, and slowly bowed deeply to apologize. "I'm sorry for taking the bank book without permission." A bit exasperated, I responded, "You don't have to force an apology. Since you confessed to the affair yourself, I'll be sure to take compensation. Let's discuss the rest through lawyers." I began gathering my belongings. Tom didn't try to stop me, but the mother-in-law approached instead. "On behalf of my son, I apologize, Emily. I'm so sorry. I'll repay the money Tom stole. Please use it for Catherine's surgery expenses." She kept apologizing multiple times. "There's no need for you to apologize. After all, it was Tom who took the bank book." But she wouldn't listen. I wasn't planning to give all the money in the bank book to my daughter, Catherine. Given that I might need to take a break from work, I believed it was always good to have extra money on hand. It wasn't just about the amount, but the act of stealing someone else's money and giving it to a lover was unforgivable. The mother-in-law seemed to understand this, and while laughing, she said, "If you leave here, I'll dispose of this house and give the money to Emily. You must also take proper compensation from Tom." True to her word, the mother-in-law sold the family home and gave me the proceeds. When she moved into a care facility, she also made me the beneficiary of her life insurance. If I don't return the money that Tom took from Emily, I won't be able to rest in peace. She seemed to be joking, but I would end up receiving far more than what my husband had taken. The divorce proceedings with my husband finished, and I arranged to receive the compensation in monthly installments. Since the family home was sold, my husband lost his place to live. He seemed to have tried to live with his lover, but apparently she promptly refused. It seems that the affair was just a fling for the other woman, while Tom had been free to spend his salary however he wanted until now. He can't continue to spend it all on his mistress anymore. On top of that, since he has to pay me compensation, his take-home pay will decrease even more. After separating from me and gaining his freedom, he got dumped by his mistress and seems to be living a lonely life. I started living with my daughter, Catherine. Her surgery was successful, and she returned to work as lively as before. Whenever we have time, Catherine and I make an effort to visit my mother-in-law at her care facility. When Catherine visits, my mother-in-law always seems happy, so I think it's best to let them meet as often as possible. Even though Tom and I have separated and technically my mother-in-law has become a stranger, she will always be Catherine's grandmother, so I want to maintain a good relationship with her. After the surgery, it seems Catherine and her boyfriend are doing well. They might be getting married soon. I'd love for my mother-in-law to see Catherine in her wedding dress and even hold a great-grandchild someday.